So there's just one more thing that I want to cover before we get into module 2. Scratch that. It's 2 things. I want to cover reusable elements and page navigation. Page navigation will just take a second, and then we'll get into reusable elements and what exactly that means. So let's come to our index page and put a identifier on the page so we know what page we're working with. We'll just say index or landing, because index page is also going to be where the user is directed automatically when they visit your platform, unless you change that. So let's make a new page. To do so, you just come up to the top left where it says page index, select, and you can see there's already some pages that Bubble makes for you, such as reset password and the 404. We're going to make another page. So we'll add a new page. We'll call this pricing. We'll create. And let's give this an identifier as well. We'll just say pricing. Great. So let's get into the workflow of how to actually navigate from page to page. So let's drag a button onto our screen. We'll move that up here and we'll put a button right in the center. And we'll click pricing. Or we could say something like sign me up or just sign up. That's what's going to be the most common use case when you have those pricing cards. A user clicks sign up or join or create, anything like that, and they're directed to the pricing page. So we'll go to our workflow. You can see we have when button sign up is clicked, we have an action that we want to perform. So what is that action going to be? Well, we're going to come and select navigation. Then we're going to go to a specific page. And this is where you can select any page in your Bubble application. So you can see we made the pricing page. That's where we want to go. Now, typically when it's your own application, don't select open in a new tab. You want that user to stay on your application in one screen. But if you're going to an external URL, I do recommend clicking open in a new tab. So let's leave that how it is. Let's go to preview on our index page. You can see we're on the index or landing page. A user comes to our website and they click sign up and they're redirected to our pricing page. Simple. That's navigation. There's nothing too complex about navigation. You're just telling Bubble where you want to direct the user after they perform an action, such as clicking a button. So let's go back to our application and talk about reusable elements. So come back to our design. We'll get rid of this stuff. Let's head over to Airbnb and look at what a reusable element might be. So you can see we're on the main Airbnb dashboard where we can select a property. I want you to pay attention to what elements are changing as I navigate to a new page by clicking a property. So I click a property, and you notice most of the page changes. Of course, as we expect, a lot of things are going to change. But what doesn't change? Well, the nav bar. It stayed exactly the same. Now, when Airbnb was developing their website, they didn't create a new nav bar for every page. They didn't make one for the home page. They didn't make one for this page or any other specific property page. They made it one time, and they reused it across the entire application. And that's what a reusable element is. If you're going to be using the same element in multiple different places across your application, you want to do a reusable element. Trust me, you don't want to be making the same thing over and over and over. You want to simply drag and drop something that you've already built. So let's look at how we do that in Bubble. Let's come back to our editor. And on the left side of your screen, you see we have all of our elements. Let's just scroll down, and you'll see reusable elements down here at the bottom. Let's select new reusable. We'll give it a name. We'll do navbar. So we'll just name it nav, and we'll create. You can see this little small square that Bubble, I don't know why they do this. They should fix it. Let's change the layout to give us a bigger space to work with. Let's come to your layout, and let's do 1,000 by 1,000. And we can close that and start building out our nav bar. Again, UI is not of importance right now, so this is going to be a very basic nav bar. In fact, it'll probably just say nav bar, but you'll get the idea. So let's drag a group over. That will act as our nav bar. And then we can give it a background color just so we can see what is going on. Let's drag a text box, and we'll simply just say nav bar. So, beautiful looking nav bar. Now let's see what happens when we use it in multiple locations in our application. Let's go back to index. So now let's come and scroll down and see if we can't use our nav bar. So here it is. Now look at the square that you see in the preview. So that's something we need to go back and fix. Because if I drag that and drop, you can see it takes up a ton of space. Well, we don't want that. We just want it to take up this navbar space. So let's go back to our reusable element. To get back to a reusable element, to edit it, just come up to your page, and then you'll select nav. It'll be under your reusable elements section. So we can select that, and we don't want it to be this big. So now that we know kind of what the height and width are, let's actually make this something that we can easily change. So we'll do an 800 width and 100 height. Now we can make our editor the same. So we'll do 800 for the width. Whoops. 8. Come on, Bubble. What are we doing here? 800 for the width, and then we'll have the 100 for the height. Now you can see it fits, but it's still not perfect. So let's change that a little bit. We want to click our element, and now we want to make this take up the maximum space is allowable. So how do we do that? Well, think back. We used percents instead of pixels. So let's give this an align to parent. And now let's change all of our width and heights. So right now it's fixed. We don't want that. We want an align to parent. Now you can see it automatically snapped even just by selecting align to parent. That means it gave it the 800 pixel and the 100 pixel width as the min height. So it automatically fixed. However, if you want to be super precise, you would do a minimum width of 100%. And then you would do a minimum height of 100% as well. Great. So we have the correct size of our navbar. Let's go back to our index and see what it looks like. There we go. So it doesn't take up all of the space down here now. See, it's just snapped to the top. Let's go try this on our pricing page as well so you can see how the reusability works. Let's head to pricing. And let's do the exact same thing. If you drag it over and drop it on the page, you can see we can just make it one time and use it across all of our pages on the application. And just like that, we're done with Module 1. I'm super excited that you made it this far, and honestly, you should be so proud of yourself for completing Module 1 in its entirety, because now you have a perfect foundation to go out there and honestly start building some basic applications as is. With your knowledge right now, you can go out there and start earning an income just with the foundation that you've learned throughout Module 1. But I want to get into Module 2 because that's where we're going to start playing around with AI and OpenAI and different API calls and integrating a bunch of different cool things within our application that you're definitely going to be using when you're working with more sophisticated builds. So let's get right into it. I'll see you over there, and congratulations again on completing Module 1.